Hello, I'm Stephen Fry, and today I'm at the Royal Albert Hall in their archive, and I'm going to choose some of my favourite objects in the collection. Frankly, I feel like a pig in Chardonnay. And oh wow, the 1994 equality show for Stonewall, the charity that did so much to bring about equality for gay people, for queer people, as we'd say now, including ultimately, not just equality of age of consent, but same-sex marriage, of which I've been a beneficiary. That was 20 years later, 21 years later, I got married. But when I stood on the stage for this show, because I was in it, I was a last minute. I think Ian called me up and said, "Darling, could you come on? Someone's dropped out. Lovely, no, shush, if you could, no. And so I did. I can't remember whom I replaced, or maybe I just hosted it, or did little interstitials, as they call them in television. But look at that. Lily Savage, oh stop, Melissa Etheridge, Sandy Toksvig, Regina Fong, is it? Alison Moyer, Ben Elton, oh bless his socks. And then ending with, I mean, come on, really, Elton John and Sting. This was high quality. And this was also, let's not forget, this was as AIDS was still killing people in huge numbers. So it was a time when support and allies were really, really important. So God bless Sting and Ben Elton and some of the straight people here who sided with us and gave up their evening and made this show, as I remember it, a really successful one. And I think this was the year that it had just been announced that Ian McKellen was knighted. And so I introduced him at one point as Serena McKellen, and that nickname stuck. He's been Serena ever since to his friends. Wondrous. Wow, what a memory. Well, now look at this, the Odyssey. As it happens, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here at the Royal Albert Hall this evening in order to perform and read from my new retelling of the Odyssey. The Odyssey will be retold long, long after I'm dead and buried, as long after I'm dead and buried as the period of time that elapsed between Homer, if it really was Homer, and the creation of this extraordinary story that people always want to retell. And here, a musician called David Bedford did a sort of electronic version of, in the same way that, there was an electronic version of War of the Worlds, and Rick Wakeman of Yes did his Arthur and the Round Table sort of things, and this was very fashionable in the 70s. And here we have all these musicians performing, and he's retelling this great story. It's a story of a man trying to get home. That's the wonderful thing about it, and that's why it's lasted so long, I think. The Greeks have this wonderful word nostos, which means the love of home. And many years later, really 16th century, during the 30 Years' War, a Swiss doctor coined a word to define the homesickness felt by Swiss mercenaries in that war, who yearned for their home. And he called it nostos pain, nostalgia that entered the language. And this is a story, as I say, about a hero of the Trojan War who, because of offending the gods, various reasons, is held up by 10 years from getting home. And meanwhile, his wife Penelope on his home island of Ithaca and his son Telemachus, whom he hasn't seen since he was a baby, await him, unknowing what the news is. And they have their adventures, and he has his. And I see he's done different, there's beautiful, these vase kind of pictures of all the different stories. Penelope's shroud, that's a very good story. See, she was surrounded by these suitors who wanted to marry her. They kept telling her, Odysseus, your husband's dead. He's been gone now for 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. Of course he's dead. He must be. In fact, he's gone for 19 years because there's 10 years of the war and then 9 years of getting home. He must be dead. So marry me, because they wanted her kingdom. And she said, well, I've got to make this shroud. I've got to weave this tapestry, this shroud, for my father-in-law, who will soon be dead, and it will be for his funeral. So I'll choose one of you when I've done that. So she would weave all day, and then she would, at night, unpick what she had done. So it went on and on. She was very cunning. Unfortunately, one of her servants squealed to the suitors, and they forced her to choose. just about the time they didn't know. Finally, Odysseus was getting home. It's such a great story. And some of the things he had to go through, Scylla and Charybdis, this whirlpool on the one side and a monster on the other, and he had to steer in between. The sirens, the famous sirens whose song, if anyone heard it, they had to go, they had to steer their ship towards them, and where they crash on the rocks, and then the sirens would leap aboard and eat them. And he was the only person ever to hear the song, because he had himself lashed to the mast, and his crew had wax to seal their ears so they couldn't hear. Only he heard, and he screamed at them to let him go, but they couldn't hear, and he survived. Oh, there's so much going on. It's wonderful. I don't know these musicians particularly. John Lord I've heard of. He was in Deep Purple, and there are a few of them there. Yeah, I'm sure they were brilliant. Found a member of the Soft Machine, Mike Ratledge. They were big in their day. And Mike Oldfield, for heaven's sake. Oh, well, now he's very famous. He had the astonishing hit. Mike Oldfield is responsible for the success of Richard Branson, because it was Virgin's first album and it sold millions and millions, made a fortune for Virgin, and the rest, as they say, was history. It looks like a really interesting concert. I wonder if they filmed it. Who knows? Anyway, there you go. Odyssey. David Bedford, the Odyssey. One of the things you see a lot of at the Royal Albert Hall are concerts to raise money for charities. And there is no charity, in my view, more important in our country than Mind. I have the honour to be the president of Mind. It's the mental health charity, the largest in England and Wales, and we're very proud of the work we do. And some people think this is all very recent, but look, here's a concert from 1977 with some really fine people. Mostly, it's a comedy concert. Nobody's Fools, it's called, or subtitle, Rock with Laughter. That's a good title because it has rock and rollers and it has comedians, including most of the Pythons, Graham Chapman, John Cleese, Michael Palin, Terry Jones. It's also got the Bonzo Dog Band, whom I love, or some of the members of it, in the form of Neil Innes and Viv Stanshall. It's a great lineup, it really is. Jasper Carrott is there as well. And let's see what else we got. Oh, there are all their names. There's a here. There's a sort of mission statement, manifesto of Minds. Mind exists to promote better mental health and opportunities for personal development, improve the voluntary and statutory mental health services, press for better care, rehabilitation, education and welfare. Needs money to do this? Please send your donation to Mind 22 Harley Street. There's no website or email address or anything like that. Oh, of course there isn't, Stephen. It's 1977. But Mind is still going strong and still depends on people's support in events all over the country. It is one of the most marvellous things about being a part of a charity like that, how people at the local level raise money for some of our amazing number of community hubs, as you might call them. Listen to my phone going off. Isn't that embarrassing? I'm so sorry. So this looks like a really good concert here. And good on them all. Oh, look, there's John Cleese. Oh, he was my hero. And I love Alan Price as well. Barbara Dixon, the singer. Jasper Carrott was just starting. Well, I don't know, starting out isn't quite right, but he was becoming famous, and he's as a television figure. And then there's Neil Innes. I don't believe in giving the public exactly what they want, explains Neil Innes, whose bizarre blend of music and humour first flowered in the artistic hothouse of the now defunct Bonzo Dog Band. It's bad for one's mental health, stardom, getting no peace, being chivied around and having to keep up a facade. Scaffold. Now, Scaffold you may have heard of, I don't know. They were John Gorman, Roger McGuff and Mike McGear, Liverpudlian poets who formed a wonderful band, and they had some big hits. Thank you very much for the entry. Thank you very much. And most famously, perhaps, Lily the Pink. We'll drink a drink to Lily the Pink, a pink, the saviour of the human race. For she invented medicinal compound, most efficacious in every case. I can't believe I remember that. It was in the 60s. Crazy. This is so wonderful. This is what archives are about. They're not just things behind glass. They're not just showing off about grandeur. They're about opening up the past and the culture of the past and the smell and the songs and the tunes and everything to do with it. It's just wonderful. What a treasure trove. So thanks for watching In the Archive with me, Stephen Fry, at the Royal Albert Hall. Bye-bye.